Hey, good afternoon. It's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm. Well, I thought it was high time I made another video on sowing seeds for roses. The last video I made really discussed more the issue of what you can expect when you plant roses from seed. This one here I want to do something a little different. I want to take you through the whole process. So the question is, how do you get from a packet of seeds that you purchase like this, or dried hips that you have like these, or even collecting fresh rose hips from your garden, and how do you get from there to the point where you have a plant like this? And just as background, from that video that I previously made on what to expect when you grow roses from seeds, this is one of those seedlings. This was done last year, started stratifying last year in November. I planted the seedling in February, and it has gone through 2 sets of blooms. I'll post a picture of that in this video. And now it's at this stage here, ready to be potted up into the next size, probably in next spring. So before I get going on what the steps are to get from here to there, let me just take you outside for a quick second and we'll collect some fresh seeds. Out in the rose field here, I wanted to show you me collecting some seeds from roses. It's November now, so the rose hips should be nice and ripe, and the seeds inside of them ready for stratification. Here, this rose is called Altissimo. It's a climber, so it's got nice tall branches there. And so I've actually pulled off some rose hips here. You can see they're bright orange and ready for harvest. Now, while I'm out here, and before I forget to do so, I'm going to go ahead and put that into an envelope. And my wife just picked these up at a thrift store, so we got them for cheap. And they're nice and handy for this kind of work because they fit into my pocket and I can write on them. So in this case, because it came from the rose Altissimo, I'm going to write X Altissimo on the envelope and then move on to my next variety. All right, back inside now with the hips that we collected from outside, but also dried hips that I've got soaking here from previous years of collection, and seeds clean from a seed package that also are soaking. So what I aim to do here is I need to replicate what happens to the seeds in nature to get them to germinate. Out in nature, they'd be on that rose bush still in hips, and they might be held there up in the bush for another year before they drop to the ground and start breaking down. Then those seed pods would have to break down, and finally the seeds would have to be have a period of cold and moist weather to simulate a winter so that they know that it's time to germinate. And they would preferably germinate in spring, so they have a whole season to establish before they have to face winter again. So for all of that to happen in nature, it might take 2 to 3 years or more. Here we want to shortcut that and have that all happen over the course of 3 months and in your fridge. So a lot more controlled and on your schedule. So what I want to show you is the media that I'm using for this. This is vermiculite from this package here. You definitely could use perlite. Those are the two that I would recommend. Some people use sand. I find that holds too much moisture and things are too susceptible to rot in sand. So I would say perlite or vermiculite. Fine vermiculite is fine like this, but it needs to be moist. You can see this right now is quite dry. But here's the spot where some people get messed up is this can not be dry like this, but it definitely cannot be soaking wet. So what I suggest you do is you start with just a small amount of water. And I've only poured in maybe a couple of tablespoons there. And then I just want to stir it around and share that moisture amongst all of the vermiculite. I know this is going to look like a cooking show, but you don't really want to rush this stage here. And you can just leave it to sit for a little while to share around that moisture, but it's not quite wet enough yet. So I'm going to give it a little more and just pour it all the way around here. Well, that's starting to look a little bit more like it. There's still some dry patches in there, but don't worry about that. You're trying to get it to be evenly moist. It will do that all on its own just by sharing the water amongst the whole media there. So this is starting to look more like what it should be like. So I'm just going to give this a push down here and lift it, and it should hold in a form like that fairly easily, but also break apart fairly easily. And to your hand, to your feel, it should feel moist, but you should not be able to squeeze any water out of it. So this is just about perfect. Next thing I'm going to do here is, this is just a basic, almost like a Tupperware container that people would use for like condiments or something small. I'm going to just throw a little layer of vermiculite across the bottom here. And I've already prepared some seeds here. These ones here have been soaking overnight. The variety, if you're interested, is Rosa rubrifolia. And I'm just going to take those and put them on the top here, and then I'm going to spread them out in a little layer. And really, your only goal there is not to have them all stacked on top of each other or sort of in a pile. And then I'll take a little bit more vermiculite just to cover everything over, smooth that out, and that's it. Now, as a final step here, I need to label that and then put it in the fridge. And I put it in the fridge for about 3 months. So 2.5 months, you should start checking to see if there's any germination happening in there, because that's what roses will do, is once they've received that vernalization period or that stratification period, they will start germinating right in the fridge. So go and check that at about 2.5 months and keep on checking until you see some germination. Then you can pull them all out and start transplanting them. So I'll show you that step next. So 12 weeks later now, I'm another 3 months older, and in my greenhouse here it's turned from winter to spring, so you may even see some fresh potting on the benches behind me. The reason I'm finishing up the seeding video now is because inside of these Tupperware containers I put into the fridge in November and December, I have some germination. And I'll put up some close-up videos or pictures of this, but you can see that the first thing that emerges is that first seed root, or radicle they call it, which is long and white and has some fuzzy little root hairs on it. The next thing that will happen is the first seed leaves will come out that don't look a lot like rose leaves. They're kind of roundish, but everything in here now has satisfied its stratification requirement. It's had enough cold and they're ready to start germinating. So I've got to pronto get some of these ones that have already germinated, and also all the other seeds in here that have not germinated into pots, so that I can let them germinate, let them start forming true leaves, and end up looking like this guy here, which I showed you in a previous scene, is one that I did exactly 1 year previously. So now this one is ready for transplanting. I'm going to give you some close-up views here of the germinated seedlings and how I transplant those into pots, so hang tight. Alright, I'm just going to transfer here from this Tupperware container, the one that I see that is germinated, and I find it useful to use the back end of a spoon or a small tool like that, and you can probably see that there's a good seed root on that. And then just dibble with my finger, and oops, don't want to go too deep, gently tease it in and firm it up. And when that first cotyledon or those first leaves emerge, then this should be good to go. And also for the other one, same process. And again, you can probably see a good root on that. So just gently tease it into position, and that's it. You could also put them into seedling trays, and that would be fine. For this larger one here from the previous year, and just to give you some context, this one was stratified in the fall of 2017, germinated in the spring of 2018, and now is going into a 1-gallon pot in the spring of 2019. I've got it labeled as that it was a seedling of Wild Blue Yonder. So looking forward to seeing how that one does this year. And so these ones here are 1 year younger. Hopefully by next year they'll be at this stage, And that takes you all the way through. That takes you from collection of seeds, cleaning of the seeds, stratification, germination, and transplant and potting. And if you do have any other questions about growing roses from seed, please don't hesitate to drop a question below the video. Thank you very much.